Trump's surprise visit to Israel. Stuns the world, what he told Netanyahu and MBS about Iran. As jets scrambled over the skies of Jerusalem and media blackouts swept across the region, one man stepped off a private aircraft that no one expected to see land: Donald J. Trump. His visit wasn't announced, it wasn't planned, and yet within hours, he was seated at a secret table with Benjamin Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin, and Mohammed bin Salman. What he said about Iran not only left them speechless, it may have stopped World War III. This is the story the media didn't want you to know. Please support us by subscribe, like, and share for more with activating the notification bell. Thank you. The world was trembling. Oil prices were soaring, embassies were evacuating staff, and headlines screamed of impending war in the Middle East. Tensions between Iran and Israel had reached a breaking point. Iran had just conducted a long-range missile test, one that analysts believed could reach not just Tel Aviv, but Riyadh and even parts of Europe. The Israeli Defense Forces were placed on high alert. Saudi Arabia scrambled jets, and the United States? Silent. The White House issued a vague statement calling for restraint from all parties. But behind the scenes, something extraordinary was unfolding. Without fanfare, without media coverage, and without even notifying NATO allies, a private jet marked with an American flag touched down at Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. The man who stepped off that plane? Donald J. Trump. Journalists caught blurry footage from outside the gates. Is that Trump?" one reporter shouted. Why was he here? He wasn't the president anymore. He had no official power. And yet, within the hour, Trump was ushered into a secured Israeli military compound near Jerusalem, meeting face-to-face with Benjamin Netanyahu. But that wasn't all. Within 24 hours, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, of Saudi Arabia, arrived. Quietly in Tel Aviv. And in Moscow, a secure line was opened from the Kremlin. Vladimir Putin was now part of the conversation. This was no ordinary meeting. This was the highest-stakes summit the world had never seen, and Trump had called it himself. Inside a heavily fortified Israeli war room, the mood was tense. Netanyahu stood with military advisors, visibly agitated. MBS, guarded and silent, barely acknowledged the others. A large screen on the wall displayed Putin via secure video feed. And Trump? He was calm, unusually calm. He pulled out a leather folder and slammed it on the table. "Gentlemen, you already know why I'm here," he said. "Iran is on the edge. You're on the edge. But if one bullet is fired in the wrong direction, this entire region goes up in flames." Netanyahu responded coldly. "They've threatened to level Haifa. We will not sit and wait." MBS added, "They're arming militias across our borders. We've already lost men. We're ready to strike." Putin, through his translator, simply said, "If Israel strikes first, Iran will retaliate. Russia cannot stop that." Everyone stared at Trump. And then, he did the unthinkable. He proposed a peace initiative. Not through traditional diplomacy, not through the UN, and certainly not through American political channels. Trump called it the Desert Accord. His plan included a temporary ceasefire guaranteed by Russian and American private intermediaries, a backdoor economic trade pipeline between Saudi Arabia, Jordan, and Israel-Iran, would be offered a conditional easing of sanctions in exchange for pulling back missile units and halting enrichment. A joint anti-terrorism task force, including U.S. and Gulf intelligence agents, to monitor rogue militias. Putin looked intrigued. MBS leaned forward. Netanyahu raised an eyebrow. "You want us to trust Iran?" "No," Trump said. "I want you to corner Iran into peace without firing a shot." Everyone in the room went silent. Now came the hard part, talking to Iran. Trump didn't use embassies. He didn't go through official channels. Instead, he activated a private intelligence route through Oman and Switzerland, a method he had used during his presidency. He reached out to a lesser-known but influential Iranian figure, Dr. Mehdi Safavi, a former general-turned-diplomat who was known to be quietly critical of the hardliners. The message was brief and brutal. Call off the missiles, pull back, or face coordinated annihilation. But if you're ready to talk, We're listening. Hours passed. Then a signal came through. A Swiss diplomat handed a handwritten note to one of Trump's operatives in Muscat. It read, "We're open to terms. Send a messenger, no cameras, no press." Trump immediately dispatched 2 trusted former aides and an Arab League observer to Oman. Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Netanyahu was preparing military action. IDF jets were already lined up for preemptive strikes. MBS was ready to authorize drone hits on southern Iraq where Iranian proxies were stationed. And then, another message arrived. Tehran had agreed to a secret sit-down. They weren't promising peace, but they were willing to listen. Trump had cracked the door open. Now he had to walk through it. In a luxury conference room in Muscat, Oman, a room with no cameras and no journalists, Trump's private peace team met with representatives from Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Israel. Trump himself wasn't there, but he was watching via secure feed. Each delegate was handed a copy of the Desert Accord. Tensions flared. The Iranian rep accused Israel of genocide. The Saudi delegate responded with accusations of terrorism. But after hours of negotiation, an understanding was reached. Iran would freeze missile development and withdraw troops from the Syrian border. Israel would pause military drills and halt new settlement construction for 30 days. Saudi Arabia would support economic reintegration through Gulf funds. If Iran kept its word, what sealed the deal? A single video message recorded by Trump. "We can either build a Middle East that our children are proud of, or leave them a wasteland of fire. You have 72 hours to choose peace. If not, you'll face something worse than war. Irrelevance." That message hit differently. Not because it came from a politician, but because it came from someone who wasn't even supposed to be there. Someone who acted when no one else did. The next morning, Iran publicly announced a temporary military de-escalation. Israel stood down. Saudi Arabia held back. The war was, for now, averted. The headlines exploded. Trump saves the Middle East. Trump brokers secret peace talks, stuns Biden administration. Israel, Saudi Arabia, Iran agree to ceasefire. After surprise Trump visit, CNN dismissed it as unauthorized freelancing. Fox News called it a masterclass in global leadership. In Tehran, hardliners were furious, but Safavi's popularity soared. Even Putin made a sly remark at a press conference. Sometimes, those outside the system do what the system cannot. In Washington, the Biden administration was caught off guard. They denied involvement and promised to review the facts. But the facts didn't wait. Peace talks began formally in Oman, and although temporary, they were real. And Trump? He held a press conference in Jerusalem, with cameras flashing and reporters yelling. He stood before the world and said, "I didn't come here for politics. I didn't come here for power. I came here to stop a war." And I did. People were divided. But one thing was clear. Trump had changed the game. Not as president, not as a diplomat, but as a man who saw the fire coming and chose to pour water on it. A war that could have killed millions was stopped by a single visit, a bold message, and a willingness to act when no one else would. You don't have to agree with the man, but sometimes history is made by those who simply show up. If you think this story deserves to be heard, hit that like, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, stay informed and stay free.